Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Sonder Social. I'm so excited to be with you all today. This is I feel like my usual weekly setup is always like a Sunday afternoon. So I'm very excited to see you all. It's been a while. So I'm excited to have you all join me this Sunday to get our week set up. But just a reminder for folks that are new, make sure to set your chat to everyone. And we will get started in a few. And for folks who don't know me, I'm Malika. I'm based out of San Francisco. I will be leading you through your social this evening. And then I'm joined by the one and only Katie. Who's dialing in all the way from Europe. So it is late for her, but she is a rock star and she's going to be answering any questions you have in the chat. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. And we will talk about a few things before we get started. So, just a heads up. And make sure to grab your July journals, or if you want to set it up in your August journals, that's fine. But I set mine up in my July journal for this week. Okay, so, a couple reminders. Make sure that you are kind and courteous to yourself and others. No promotions or spam. Respect everyone's privacy. No hate speech or bullying. Limit any product and accessory questions or customer care inquiries to our team at hello@siliconsonder.com. And just remember, these Sonder socials are the way for us to all connect with each other, set up our weeks together, and really just get inspiration from one another. So this is like really a fun social to just get a lot of inspiration, maybe adopt a pattern that you probably wouldn't have thought of otherwise, and kind of get the most out of your journal. All right. Okay. And then before we get started in the typical weekly setup, I want to run through a few slides here. So we are offering this amazing 14-day free trial for our life coach product at Silk and Sonder. So make sure to take advantage of that. Katie will provide some links for you to check it out. But it's coach.silkandsonder.com. And I just want to walk through a couple of the features just for education purposes. There's a lot of new and exciting things that are happening in the product. So this is a really fun one. So we have this feature where it basically takes your everything about you, all your personality, everything that's like in tune with who you are, and it comes up with almost like a my life as a movie. Like what is it like? How would that tagline be? What would that tagline be for you? What would that quote be for you? And like, it's just a little fun way to get a little bit more insight into your personality. And it's very tailored to you. So I love mine. I love looking at that feature. We also have a couple other features. So we have the wheel of life, and it also tied to your emotional health score. And soon we're gonna update. Currently, it's I think in testing, but soon it's going to be launched to production, and you're able to update your wheel of life. I know that's something that I really wanted because I feel like oftentimes my life changes. It's just not that constant as a lot of us are. So I had to update mine, and it's a lot more in tune with where I am today. So it's been awesome. And then we also have text to speech journaling prompts, which is awesome. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I love to talk and I don't love to type that much. So it's a great feature. You can just use your microphone, it'll take your voice, it'll transcribe. It's really easy to use, Jenny, which is kind of like your life coach, that's tailored to you. So, and then we also have one more exciting thing to talk about is we have an exclusive event in August, and I wanted to give you a little sneak peek. It's going to be called Rewrite Your Fairy Tale. So, as we move into August, it's going to be this is going to be a really fun event. So, I'm excited about this one. But what if your life wasn't something to fix, but a story waiting to be rewritten? So, I'm really excited about this one. This one will be a fun event. So be sure to check that out and grab your tickets before they get sold out. And then one last thing before we move into the weekly setup. I know I'm going through this a lot, but this is just a reminder to follow us on at Silk and Sonder on Instagram, and just remember to like share, like make sure to kind of tag us. We love to see you guys use your Silk and Sonder journal. So make sure to tag us on Instagram as you use it. And yeah, and then also we have this really great human design daily ritual for you to check out. So make sure to check that out as well. And we're like almost at August, which is crazy. So with that being said, let's move into why we came here today, which is the setup. So we'll talk about this month's theme of independence. I had a social a couple days ago, and we did the independence journaling prompts, and we really dove in about kind of how analyzing parts of our lives that are dependent and what are the positives and negatives. And I think like throughout this month, I feel like a lot of my life is quite independent, but when I think about this theme, I was also thinking about, okay, what are some of the positives of that, but what are some of the negatives, and really understanding kind of how to shift a little bit, because sometimes I feel like I'm overly independent and maybe it doesn't work for me in the way that I want it to. So that is kind of what I've been focusing on this month for this theme. And then we'll kind of dive into the mind map. I know a lot of folks come to these weekly socials every week, and we do the mind maps together. So we will kind of continue that forward. And if you haven't started your mind map, that's completely fine. You're gonna get like the last little box. You can always screenshot it and then answer the other prompts if you'd like to after the social. Then we'll move into our rosebud thorn, where we identify our highlight, something we're looking forward to, and a challenge that we're dealing with. And then we'll dive into the weekly setup pages. Okay, so for the mind map, turn to a blank page or turn to your existing mind map for independence. And this week, we are going to identify one skill or area where you'd like to become more self reliant. This could be anything from a practical skill, like cooking or minor home repairs, so something that you can solve independently, or an emotional one. So think about what those skills are, or like an emotional skill, practical skill, whatever it may be. And what is one concrete action you can take this week to develop it further and maybe reduce your dependence on others for it? So maybe think about what that is for you, what that skill is. And we will take a few minutes to fill out that week 4 section of the mind map, and I'll regroup with you in a few minutes. Thank you all for taking the time to fill out your mind map. I think there's a lot of like conversation in the chat right now about what it means to be independent, and I really liked what Brenda said. You don't need permission to ask for help; you can be independent with it. So it's also a sign of independence to lean on a mentor or something to help you kind of navigate that. So it's not always you have to do it on your own. You can always seek out, a little bit of help to get you to get started. With that, we will now move on to our rosebud thorn. So for our rosebud thorn, this will be on page 50 for this week. So go ahead and turn to page 50 of your July journals, and we will do our rosebud thorn. And I always share my rosebud thorn with you all. So it's something I always do for each social. So I'll kind of walk you through what a rosebud thorn is. So a rose is a highlight or something that's going well this week. A bud is a new and emerging opportunity, something that you're looking forward to on the horizon. And then a thorn is a challenge or something that you've been struggling with. So my rose is, I feel like life has been extremely great since I turned 30 last month, and I just hope it continues to be this great. I feel like I've really just stepped into who I am as a person, and it's been really an exciting adventure so far, and I feel renewed. And then my bud is work has been fulfilling lately, and there's a lot going on, but it's been really exciting to see a lot of the stuff that was in my brain is actually getting built. So it's really exciting to see it come to life. A thorn is I would say just in the like romance department, I feel like communication's a big thing for me. And oftentimes I realize I get anxious, especially in like the early stages. And I just feel like it's kind of hard to control, but I'm kind of letting go and letting be. So that is something that I have been working on and struggling with slightly. But that is my rosebud thorn. So I'll give you all a few minutes to reflect on your rosebud thorn and then share with us in the chat your rose, your bud, and your thorn. Great. We'll now move on to the weekly setup pages. So go ahead and flip the page. I just want to thank you for sharing your rosebud thorn. I oftentimes think that it's pretty like sometimes we're having easy weeks, but sometimes we're not. And I just want to appreciate everyone's vulnerability and just being so transparent in the chat. So we'll now move on to our weekly planner. And always start off with that box at the top. So go ahead and turn to page 52 of your July journals. And we'll start off with this week, I want to feel. So, for this section, think about kind of what that feeling is for you. Here are some words to help encourage that. And once you have that word, write it down and share with us in the chat. So, think about what that is for you and go ahead and write it down. I love to read what intention you're setting for this week. So, my word is productive for this week just because I have a lot going on at work. And that is what I need to be this week. So mine is productive. I want to feel productive. Less prickly, the heat is getting to me. I'm sorry, Gloria. I'm in San Francisco where it's like raining right now. It's the opposite. Let's see. Successful, joyful and supported, emotionally regulated. Um, let's see. Resilient, let's see, back on track, empowered, strong, passionate, enthralled, a little more energetic, active, light on my feet, 5% happier. Oh, I love that. Yeah, these are all great intentions that you're all setting. So thank you all for sharing with us in the chat and writing it down. We'll now move forward with our weekly major three goals. Okay, so there's a couple of different ways you can set this up. They can definitely just be any three goals that you want to accomplish, but you can also have it mapped to the feeling that you just set. So, say you have an intention for the week on how you want to feel. I would write out those three goals for yourself and then maybe see how you can map it to that feeling. So, for me, because I want to feel productive, my three goals kind of are in that same realm. So, just for reference, I wrote down carve out time to prep on Sunday for work, get back in the workout routine, and have a consistent break/sleep schedule and cook at home. So those are my three goals that I have this week that are going to help me feel like my most productive self. And I invite you all to kind of think about what those goals are for you, and then we'll move to the weekly to-do section next. All right. We'll now move on to the next section, which is the to-do list. So for the weekly to-dos, it's that box to the left. And there's a couple of different ways you can set this up. So here we have an option to do the Eisenhower matrix, and this is really the way to identify what's important, what is urgent, what's not urgent, and it really helps us prioritize what we should do, decisions we need to make, what we can maybe delegate, and what we need to delete or remove that's going to distract us. So, for an example, like in the delete column or in the delete box, you would put like scrolling on TikTok or binging a TV show because, we just lose track of time. Maybe for delegate, maybe there's people in your everyday that can help with some of the chores around the house. For decide, maybe there's some decisions that you need to make that aren't time pressing, but they are quite important. So, and then your to dos are really like those really urgent, really important tasks that you need to get done. So, those are some great ways to set this up. I also have a bunch of other options in case you're not feeling the Eisenhower matrix. You can set it up as like a need, want, hope to do list. I think this is fun, especially for the summer. If it's a little bit slower in your day to day, you can use it for like identifying your needs and your wants, and it's almost like a wish list. So maybe you can do that this week. You can always flip it into a what not to do. So maybe you're like, I don't. To do is like not really working for me. I need to figure out what not to do. So you can flip it a little bit and maybe write down things that you don't want to do. Yeah. And Gina said she's going to use it as a to don't list. I love that. And you can also use this as like a bingo board. So for folks who really like to make it like a fun game and you want to put stickers or you want to cross it off with your marker, you can make it like a bit more fun. And then you can also set it up as like a category list. So oftentimes I do it that way where I categorize it based on different areas of my life. This week I'm just going to do it as like a checkbox activity, just like a bunch of things that I need to get done. But oftentimes I do the categorization just because it's easier to manage. So, with that, I'm going to give you all some time to set up your to do list, and then we'll move on to the habit and activity section next. All right. Thank you all for sharing some of the to dos that you have or how you structured it. We'll now move on to the next section, which is the habit and activity section. So it's that last section on page 52. And these are a couple different ways you can set this up. So oftentimes people use this as a place where they can maybe put their night routine or their morning routine. You can also use this section to just like map out any habits you want to track this week. And then I really like this example in the middle where they use kind of a metric within the bubble. So oftentimes, like mine's on the bottom right, I just cross it off normally with the pen, but you can also use this section and write out a number, maybe color code it a little bit. So it's a little bit more fun to just kind of use those bubbles a little bit differently. So you can do it that way. You can also choose to include the goal or omit the goal. Oftentimes, like we're always trying to strive to like fill out every bubble, and life is not always the same every day. So it's okay if you don't finish every goal every single day. And just remember, as you pick out your goals, as you go through your week, as you pick out your habits and as you go through your week, just remember to give yourself some grace and just remember that not every day is going to be perfect, and that's okay. So I will give you all some time to set up your habit trackers, and we'll regroup for the meal plan section next. All right. Thanks for sharing your habits that you're tracking this week. It sounds like we're going to have very productive weeks with all of these fabulous habits. Um, we will now move forward with the next page. And keep in mind, this is a section that gets heavily, heavily repurposed. A lot of these sections get repurposed, but I will walk you through kind of these different options. So this is the meal plan section. And this is a section that gets repurposed a lot. So you can, of course, use this as like a food log or as a just kind of, a place where you want to document what your dinners you're going to make or lunches, whatever it may be. So that can be, what you do for the section, but you can also use a section for something else. So you can use it for like a daily affirmation tracker. You can put exercises in here. You can put your appointments in here. You could use this for like a cleaning plan. If you have to clean the whole house, maybe you want to break it up zone by zone. You can use this as a gratitude log, a place where you can put your packing. Maybe you're going on vacation and you want to plan out your outfits, or maybe you need to just like pack stuff for each day. Maybe you want to put your like medication like routine in there. Maybe you want to put something that you're looking forward to or a reflection. So it can really be repurposed. For example, my meal plan section this week is repurposed as a summer soundtrack. So I kind of want to write down some of my favorite songs each day. And then basically I'm just writing one song a day that like speaks to me that day. And that's going to be my weekly soundtrack at the end. So yeah, feel free to get creative with this section. I'll give you all some time to set up your meal plans, and then we'll move on to the mind body health plan next. All right. Thank you all for sharing kind of how you're setting up this section. I find it so fun to see kind of how you guys take this in different directions. So thank you for letting me know. And if you didn't finish it, feel free to kind of jump into it after the social. I know we're like nearing the end, which is so crazy. This hour always goes by really fast. So I wanted to make sure we have enough time for the other sections. So we will now move on to the mind body health plan. So, the mind body health plan, I always like to think of this as your self care plan for the week. So, we are, I think a lot of us can consider ourselves probably pretty independent, but this is our way of taking care of ourselves as we go through our day to day. And our day to day is often busy. So, what is that little treat for yourself that you're going to look forward to? So, it can be, whatever you want it to be. I typically put my workout routine in this section. That is a personal preference because if I don't see it, I honestly feel like I won't do it. So that's like why I put it in here. But and I look at these pages a lot, but I love these other ways you can take this. And it doesn't always have to be physical health plan. It can also be emotional and mental. So I love this option. I've used this before where you can kind of have a theme each day. So motivation Monday, talk it out Tuesday, walking Wednesday, thoughtful Thursday, frustration free Friday, sassy Saturday, and self care Sunday. And we are all here for self care Sunday. So you can always do it that way, which is really fun. And I like that option. I also like somebody repurposed this section for almost like a daily kind of check-in. So you can use kind of a journal prompt in here. Maybe you want to reflect a little bit more, and that's maybe how you just want to lead your week. So maybe thinking about what are those questions are and writing that down. I also like this option of feel versus need. So maybe how do you want to feel and what are some things that you need? So I think that's like a really great way to almost add a little bit more to this section. So that's a really cool structure to use for this section. You can also use the 7 types of rest, which I think Katie dropped in the chat earlier, which is social, spiritual, mental, creative, emotional, sensory, and physical. So you can use that, or it can just be a generic. Doesn't have to be a daily health plan. It can just be what are some things you want to prioritize for the week. So I'll give you all some time to set up your mind body health plans, and we will regroup in a few minutes. All right. Thank you all for writing out your mind body health plan. We will now move on to one of the last few sections of the journal of this page, which is the shopping list page. So this is a page that gets or a section that gets heavily repurposed. So for the shopping section, you can put your shopping list. Maybe you have an Amazon order, or maybe you have groceries or whatever it may be. You can write it down, but you can also repurpose a section. You can put a quote sticker, you can put your intentions, you can put another bingo board, you can put maybe anything you want to focus on. You can put any like reminders that you want to keep top of mind. You can put it in the section. I put a quote sticker here. Katie's wrote stickers live here. Yes, same here. I always put a quote sticker in this section just to add something inspiring to the page. I wrote my quote sticker says living life in full bloom, so feel free to use a section, and then we'll give it a minute or two, and then we'll regroup for that last section together before we close out the social. Okay, we'll now move on to this last section together, which is the I am loving section. So maybe roll your shoulders back a little, maybe get comfortable, close your eyes for just a moment, and really visualize kind of what you're truly loving in your life right now. So maybe it's how you feel lately, maybe it's something regarding your rose. What is it for you? And think about what that is. And once you have it, go ahead and open your eyes and write it down. Share with us in the chat what you are currently loving. So think about what that is. I feel like for me, it's like really loving being in my own space. It feels really like easy to live my life every day, and just having kind of my own like sanctuary, just because I feel like there's a lot going on in my life right now, so it's nice calming presence to just be home alone sometimes. So that is what I'm currently loving. So thank you all so much for kind of being so vulnerable in this chat. I love these Sunday weekly socials. They always fill up my cup. They make me feel ready for the week, and I hope they make you feel ready for your week. And just a reminder to share your weekly pages with us, and share them in Sonder Club, but also share them on Instagram and tag Silk and Sonder. I feel like oftentimes I always forget to do that too. I always like just look at other people's Sonder Club. So make sure to share your pages with us. As you can see, we have a lot of inspiration from all of you that we include here. And then, yes, Katie, thank you so much for dropping those links. Just a reminder, there is that 14-day free trial that we talked about earlier. So make sure to take advantage of that because there are some really fun features that are coming out and definitely want to take advantage of it. So check that out. But yes, and I will share my playlist as I always do. So I will drop the link in the chat. But as always, thank you so much for spending this hour with me and Katie. It's always a pleasure. And I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.